Joe Mauer gets 76.1% of the vote on his first ballot, and he gets in along with Adrian Beltre and Todd Helton. But I think this is interesting because obviously couple 3-4 years from now,
Yeah.
Yadier Molina will be on the ballot. Do you think there's a chance Yadier Molina doesn't go in on the first ballot? And I bring it up because Joe Mauer just got in, barely. His career WAR is 55.2. Yadi's, I think, is, let me find it. Yadi's is 42.1. Obviously, different players. Mauer much better offensively. Yadi much better defensively. What do you think about that? Any chance you think Yadi doesn't get in first ballot?
Did Ozzie Smith go in on the first ballot, or was he on there for a while? I was too young. I was too young to know the answer to that. Like, it feels like there's a comparison to be made there because Yadi was very much renowned as a defense-first player, had some clutch moments, and really turned himself into a nice hitter by the end, by the middle of his career, and then had some numbers that he was able to put up. But like that's kind of a comparison that you might draw because nobody would question that Ozzie Smith is a Hall of Famer, but it wasn't necessarily because of his offense. You think of the go crazy folks and maybe the clutch moments, but like he was the wizard. He was defensively the best there ever was. And Yadi, to a lot of folks, is the best there ever was defensively as a catcher. And like, what does it do for his Hall of Fame criteria that you see the Cardinals absolutely go in the tank the year that he leaves, and then the first thing they do is bring him back in whatever capacity he's willing. You want to be here full time? That's fine. We'll take you. Just whatever you want to do, Yachty. Like we'll bring you back. Like I think that kind of speaks to it. So he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer in my opinion. The fact that Joe Mauer does get in on the first ballot, I think helps because if he doesn't, then you could have people make the case. It's like, well, Mauer even had to wait his turn. He had more WAR. Like, what do people look at? There's a lot of criteria. If I had to guess, I think he does get in on the first ballot, but I wouldn't put that at like 100% confidence interval. Like there's a chance that you've already heard, and the conversation will ramp up the closer his name gets to being on that ballot. But a lot of writers that are not from around here, not NL Central guys or St. Louis based writers, will be on those coastal elitists. Charlie, they'll look at it and say, I mean, these numbers, why did it's just those Cardinals fans, man. They think this guy's so good. They're so annoying. I'm just not going to vote for him the first time. Maybe later I will. Like, is there maybe going to be some of that sentiment? I don't know. It's going to be the most fascinating discussion in terms of like that we've had in I don't know, a long, long time in terms of Hall of Fame, because there are going to be a lot of people that I think are like, yeah, obviously he's a Hall of Famer. There are going to be some vocal people that say he's not, and they'll use the offensive numbers as the argument. And it's going to be a firestorm. That is my prediction. I think he probably squeaks in on the first ballot, but if he doesn't, just imagine the carnage. I mean, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I'm seeing Ozzie Smith 2002 gets in with 91.7% of the vote.
So I think he was probably first ballot if that was the case, right?
Yeah, that was 2002. His last year was 1996. So
I think that's right.
So I think what's interesting though, and you brought up Ozzie Smith, and I only say this just because I think it's kind of a decent conversation piece. To me, the difference, though, is that Ozzie Smith had a much greater national profile because of not just go crazy, folks, but because of the flip, right? You grew up, you're watching This Week in Baseball. You would always see Ozzie Smith making these unbelievable acrobatic plays all over the highlights, all over SportsCenter. Ozzie Smith had this national profile. He was flashy. You remember moments. Go crazy, folks, the flips and the great plays. I think Yadi, it's much more nuanced. And that's where you really appreciate Yadi more when you did watch him. I understand why somebody who didn't even watch the NL Central could look at Yadi and go, yeah, Yadi's great, but look at his numbers. Okay, he's to me, he's not a Hall of Famer. You had to appreciate Yadi every day, how he handled his staff, how nobody ever ran on him when he was catching, how the team ERA was, a half run lower for his entire career, how the team frickin' fell off the gosh dang map the second he left. So to me, there's a lot more nuance with the Yadi conversation than somebody like Ozzie Smith. So I wonder, the fact that Mauer just snuck in, I could see Yadi not getting in first ballot, and then Cardinal fans go crazy.
There's like 400 writers or something that voted, like 390 something this year. Like, how many of them do you trust to have that nuance? I'm not knocking them. I'm not saying they're bad at filling out the ballot. I'm just saying like it's it's more of a question than Cardinals fans think it's going to be. Not because I think it should be a question. I would vote for him on the first ballot. Um, I don't think I would vote until like 5 or 6 years or so down the road. So I should hope that I would never get the chance to vote on Yachty because he should probably already be in before I ever get a chance to do it. But again, I think for the exact reasons that you're saying, it's going to be interesting. And like you think about other fan bases that are either coast, you could pick it. They if they follow baseball, they know that Yachty was just synonymous with the Cardinals for like 20 years, and that should speak to something because the Cardinals were winning in a lot of those years. But like, how much gravitas does that carry for somebody checking a box on their ballot when the time comes? I think it should be a yes, but I am very curious to know whether it will be from some of those that didn't have the upfront, close and personal seat that everybody in the middle of the country did throughout his entire career. Like people around here, they know, but does everybody else know? I guess we're going to find out in a few years.